The moment she whispered it into my ear, I felt my body stop, completely still, like someone had cut the power. I'm sorry you found out like this. Those words, 7 of them, quiet, shaken, and impossible to ignore. Her best friend, Melissa, hugging me tight at the baby shower we'd planned for months. Her perfume still hung on my shirt hours later. Her voice, though, it never left. She let go quickly, like she'd said something she wasn't supposed to. Her smile snapped back into place. And just like that, she disappeared into the crowd of pastel balloons and "It's a Girl" banners hanging from our living room ceiling. That was the moment the nursery stayed empty. We didn't know it then. I didn't know it. I still believed we were happy, maybe tired, maybe stretched a little thin, but happy. We'd been through a lot to get here. 2 miscarriages. Late-night drives to the ER. The slow, delicate rebuilding of trust that comes after trauma no one talks about. Her name's Claire. She was the girl who caught my eye at a New Year's Eve party 8 years ago and never really let it go. She had this laugh, loud, unapologetic, the kind that made you look even if you didn't want to. I remember watching her across the room that night, holding a sparkler and yelling at the top of her lungs that the next year would be hers. We married 2 years later. Bought a little fixer-upper outside Minneapolis. She filled it with candles and soft rugs and books I'd never read, but liked seeing on the shelves. I took the garage and made it a workspace. I'd build furniture, more of a side passion than a job, but she made me feel like I could sell to galleries. We made a home. When she got pregnant, everything shifted. In the best way. I was terrified, sure, but she looked at me like I could do anything. She started calling me Daddy, in this teasing voice, always just loud enough for the barista or the mailman to hear. I didn't care. I liked how proud she seemed. We painted the nursery ourselves, soft green, with these little mountain decals she found on Etsy. She wanted the baby shower at our house. Said she didn't want the Pinterest-perfect country club event. Just friends, family, laughter. And that's exactly what it was. Until Melissa hugged me. That whisper. I'm sorry you found out like this. I remember standing there after she walked off, paper plate in my hand, a slice of pink frosted cake sliding to one corner. Around me, people were laughing. Claire's cousin was leading some ridiculous game involving diapers and melted chocolate. My mom was sitting with Claire's, comparing notes about swaddles. But all I could hear was that sentence, echoing like an unanswered question inside my skull. Found what out? I went through the rest of that afternoon like someone half asleep. Smiling, nodding, opening gifts. We got a stroller that costs more than my first car. We got matching onesies and a baby monitor with night vision. And Claire, she was glowing. That pregnancy glow, real or not, made her look almost ethereal. She caught me staring once, and she winked. Getting excited? She asked, placing a hand on her belly. I nodded. I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to mean it. That night, after the last guest left, we were cleaning up. I was stacking gift bags. Claire was gathering wrapping paper. I watched her for a moment, tried to shake it off, tried to tell myself Melissa was just being weird. Maybe she meant something else, an old joke, a moment I forgot. Maybe she was drunk. But something didn't let go. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Melissa said something strange to me today. Claire looked up. Oh. She hugged me and said, I'm sorry you found out like this. Her hands froze. Just slightly. A twitch. Barely anything. Then she laughed. Melissa's been weird lately, she said, turning back to the trash bag. I think she's having a rough time with her boyfriend. Probably just projecting. I nodded. Maybe. But she never asked what else Melissa said. She didn't press. That wasn't like Claire. She always dug deeper. Always. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours, arms folded behind my head, listening to her breath next to me. Calm. Steady. Like nothing was wrong. And maybe nothing was. But that sentence kept looping through me like a skipped record. I'm sorry you found out like this. The next morning, while Claire was in the shower, I checked her phone. I don't do that. I hate that I did it. But curiosity had sharpened into something else by then, an ache I couldn't ignore. The phone was locked. New code. My stomach sank. We never locked our phones. Ever. I walked to the nursery. Sunlight poured in through the curtains, falling across the crib we'd assembled together last weekend. I ran my hand along the edge, the wood still smelling like varnish. It should have been the happiest moment of our lives. It was supposed to be. That was the first time the thought crossed my mind. An intrusive, Terrifying thought I didn't want to believe. What if the baby's not mine? I didn't say it aloud, saying it would make it real. Instead, I waited. That week, I took a half day from work and went to Melissa's apartment. I didn't call ahead. I just showed up. She opened the door and froze. Her eyes went wide like she'd been expecting this moment, maybe dreading it. "Can I come in?" I asked. She stepped aside. And in that tiny apartment that smelled like old coffee and lavender detergent, I asked the question out loud for the first time. "What did you mean at the baby shower?" Melissa didn't answer at first. She sat on the edge of her couch and looked down at her hands. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Then she whispered, "I thought you knew already." My chest tightened. "Knew what?" She looked up at me, eyes glassy, voice quiet. "Claire's not. She's not who you think she is." I tried to tell her to come clean. I begged her. But she said it didn't matter because you loved her too much to leave. The silence that followed was the longest of my life. And then, almost without thinking, I asked, "Is the baby mine?" She didn't nod. She didn't shake her head. She just cried. It's a strange thing, realizing you've crossed a line you can't uncross. Once Melissa started crying, I knew whatever came next would change everything. But I couldn't unask the question. And now I couldn't unknow the silence that followed. I sat down on the arm of her couch, not because I was tired, but because my knees weren't steady anymore. "Just tell me," I said, quieter now. "Is it mine?" She wiped her cheek with her sleeve, then looked at me. "I don't know. No one does yet." I laughed. I didn't mean to. It just came out, dry, broken. "What does that mean, no one does?" Claire, she said she was going to get a paternity test after the birth. It's too risky now. But she was hoping it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter. Like paternity was a preference. Like the truth was optional if it complicated the narrative. I stood up fast. Too fast. The room spun. Melissa reached out like she thought I might fall, but I stepped back, hands up, shaking. She said she was hoping it wouldn't matter. I repeated, more to myself than to her. Melissa winced. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to drop that on you. I thought you already knew." The way she acted like everything was fine. "What about the guy? Does he know?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, he knows. But he's married. He told her he's staying with his wife no matter what." That part didn't surprise me as much as it should have. Because, of course, that's how these stories usually go. Some affair, some secret, some man who gets to dip into someone else's world and return to his own untouched. And me? I was the one with the crib, with the baby name list, with the green-painted walls and the stroller with the stupid cup holder that cost extra. When I left Melissa's place, I didn't go home right away. I sat in my truck across from a park we used to walk through every Sunday. I watched a dad teaching his kid how to ride a bike, his hands ready behind the seat, steady and proud. And I remember thinking, I could have been that dad. I wanted to be that dad. Not for the fantasy, not for the Instagram moments, but because I'd built a life with Claire that was supposed to lead us here. That night, Claire knew something was off. I barely touched dinner. I didn't make small talk. When she reached for my hand across the table, I pulled away without meaning to. The instinct was stronger than the habit. "Is something wrong?" she asked. I looked at her for a long moment. She was wearing that gray cardigan I bought her last fall. Hair tied back, no makeup. She looked ordinary, normal, like any wife on any Wednesday. And I hated how badly I wanted to believe she still was. "You ever lie to someone because you thought it would hurt them too much to know the truth?" I asked. She blinked. "Is this about work?" I shook my head. "It's about us." Her smile faltered. "Babe, what's going on?" I didn't say anything. I just stood up and walked to the nursery. She followed me. I opened the door and turned on the light. Everything looked exactly as it should have. Soft, hopeful, untouched. She stepped in beside me, her hand brushing mine. "What are we doing in here?" I turned to face her. "Is it mine?" Her mouth parted. Just barely. But no words came out. "Claire," I said, voice steady despite the tremble I could feel in my chest. "Is the baby mine?" She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She just sat down on the edge of the rocking chair we picked out at the antique store and stared at the floor. I leaned against the crib. "How long?" 8 weeks, she whispered. "Is that when it started?" She nodded, slow. "It was stupid. I was angry. You were working late all the time. I felt like I was disappearing." "So you cheated?" "I didn't plan to. It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, bitter. That's the excuse? Like it was a car accident? She looked up then, eyes red but defiant. I didn't mean to get pregnant by him. I didn't even know it was a possibility until after. And then it was too late. I didn't know what to do. You do now? We sat in silence. Me by the crib, her in the chair. It could have been a photo. A lie, frozen in time. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Why let me paint the nursery? Build the crib? Why let me believe this was ours? I wanted it to be, she said, and the saddest part was, I believed her. At least some small, deluded part of her probably did. She stood, stepped closer. But it still can be. We can take the test after she's born. And if it's yours? And if it's not? I asked, stepping back. Then what? Claire looked like she didn't have an answer. Or worse, she had one, and knew I wouldn't like it. I still want this life with you, she said. Even if she's not yours, you're still the man I want raising her. I laughed again. This time it hurt. You don't get to choose that, Claire. You don't get to rewrite the story once the ending changes. She reached for me. I moved. The baby kicked then, I saw it. Just a little motion under her shirt. Proof of life. Of chaos. Of everything we'd built on a fault line we never saw. Please don't leave, she said. Not yet. I didn't answer. But that night, I took all the nursery decorations down. I didn't throw them away. I didn't destroy anything. I just packed them, neatly, carefully, into boxes. Labeled everything. Put it in the garage. That was the moment I knew. The nursery would stay empty. At least for now. 2 weeks later, the test came. I wasn't there when she gave birth. She texted me from the hospital, said it was happening, said she was scared. I read the message while sitting in the dark of our garage, right beside the boxes from the nursery, still sealed, still untouched. I stared at my phone for a long time. No reply. I didn't know what to say that wouldn't break both of us. She gave birth to a girl. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Healthy. Claire sent a photo. Her eyes were closed, fists curled, wrapped in a pink blanket. There was this tiny swirl of dark hair, just like Claire's. Just like mine. But I didn't reply to that either. I couldn't. Not until I knew. Not until I could look at that photo and feel something other than fear. Melissa was the one who called me, 3 days later. She wants you to come, she said. I don't think I can. She got the results. It's yours, Tyler. My name felt foreign in her mouth. I hadn't heard it said with kindness in weeks. She waited for you, Melissa added. She didn't name her. She didn't sign anything. She said she wouldn't make a single decision until you came. I should have felt relief. That the baby was mine. That the nightmare had an exit. But instead I just sat there, staring at the floor of my garage, wondering if knowing the truth was enough to erase what the lies had done. I walked into that hospital room an hour later. Claire was sitting up in bed, pale and exhausted. Her hair was pulled back in a loose braid, and her eyes were puffy like she hadn't stopped crying. The baby was asleep in a clear bassinet next to her, chest rising and falling like a small tide. She looked up when I walked in. Hi, she said. I stood at the foot of the bed. Hi. I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't sure either. She nodded slowly. The test came in yesterday. I wanted to call. I didn't know if you'd pick up. I looked at the bassinet. She's healthy? She's perfect. What's her name? I don't know yet, Claire said, her voice catching. I told them I'd wait for you. I moved toward the baby, hesitating just long enough to feel my chest seize. I leaned over and looked down at her. She didn't move. She didn't know any of it. Not the mistakes. Not the betrayal. Not the walls I'd built since that whisper at the baby shower. All she knew was breath. And warmth. Claire spoke behind me. I know sorry doesn't fix it. I know saying I was scared doesn't make it less wrong. But I need you to know, I wasn't lying when I said I wanted this with you. I made a choice I'll regret for the rest of my life. I turned around. Why him? I don't know, she whispered. Because he made me feel wanted when I felt invisible. Because he saw me as something other than a woman waiting for her body to fail her again. And I hate myself for that. I nodded. You could have told me. You should have told me. I know. The second you thought it might not be mine, you should have told me. I know. Silence wrapped around us again, not the heavy kind this time, but the fragile kind. Like a breath held between two cliffs. I don't know if I can come back from this, I said. I love her, but I don't know if I can love us again. Claire didn't cry. She just nodded. I won't ask you to. I'll do this alone if I have to. I'll never keep her from you. I'll never lie to her. But I understand if you need to go. I looked at her for a long time. This woman I married. This woman I didn't recognize. This woman who betrayed me. And the one who broke herself trying to fix it. I turned back to the bassinet and gently slid my hand inside. My daughter's fingers, impossibly small, curled around mine like she knew me. Like she'd been waiting. Something in me cracked open. Not healed, but cracked. And from that fracture came a truth I hadn't expected. I could love her, even if her mother broke me. Even if the story didn't start clean. Because she was mine. And she didn't ask to be born into the fallout. I looked over my shoulder at Claire. Her name's Ava. You like that one, right? Claire's face broke. Not in despair. Not in hope. Just in raw, shivering humanity. She nodded. Yeah, I did. I picked Ava up, slowly, carefully, like she was the only thing in the world that hadn't lied to me. That was the moment I knew. The nursery might stay empty for now, but this child, she wouldn't grow up in the shadow of a mistake. Not if I had anything to say about it. As for Claire and me, I didn't promise her a future. I didn't kiss her forehead or hold her hand. I walked out of that room with Ava in my arms and nothing else figured out. But I showed up. And maybe, sometimes, that's the first step in rebuilding what never should have broken. Even if you can't rebuild it the same way twice.